Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Having been part of the initial days of mining in Johannesburg, DRDGold is now part of the environmental restoration stage. Martin Creamer joins me in studio to discuss the gold producers' efforts to limit the impact of ongoing operations on the environment and communities. Hi Martin.
Hi Tracy.
So how is DRDGold going about cleaning up the remnants of Johannesburg's gold mining legacy, and at what cost?
You know, it's a win-win situation because there's gold in those dumps. If you can extract it profitably, also there's sulfuric and uranium, but they're not dealing with that yet. You know, you can actually pay for the cleanup. It's part of making sure that everybody benefits from this removal. Obviously, if the gold price falls through the floor, it's going to be a different story. But you can see that up to now, the business model has worked, that you're able to get enough money from the gold that you extract, even though it's in minute quantities, to pay for cleaning up operations. And this has been going on for decades, but you can see that a huge effort was made in the last 6 months, where they spent 26 million just in that period to make sure that they left the West Rand, where they've been operating, in a state that would be unrecognizable from what it was in the past, in that people have remembered it as a dump area, but they'll now see it restored to possibly what it looked like in the past, although not many of them will remember that because it goes back, 130 years that we've been mining around here. And it's incredible how gold mining has built this economy. And gold mining is now leaving the economy, but the economy is still robust. So robust that it's the strongest in the African continent. So it shows you that sustainability can come from mining. We've seen it in San Francisco as well. It left a fantastic, vibrant economy. Here, our mining still hasn't left us because we're still making money, and in this company alone, employing 2,000 people, 1,000 of them directly and 1,000 of them as service providers, to clean up and to process that dump material and extract the gold from it. And we can see they do it at a rate of, they're targeting 140,000 ounces coming up for the next year. If the gold price just jumps up a little, that means a lot of money. They do 2 tons of gold every 6 months, which gives them normally about 100 million rand. So you can see that it's still a very lucrative business, and it's not like mining in deep, dark and dangerous surroundings. You're doing everything on surface. It does require a lot of water, but you can see that they're also making sure that they used sewage and effluent to try and cut down on the water that one gets from Rand water.
Talking about it being a lucrative business, did the company remain profitable for the 6 months to December 31st?
It was operationally profitable. It did hit its headline earnings per share, but it was almost sacrificing a very good return to make sure that it did its job properly, because it also feels a responsibility to the community. You have the dust problem from these mines. It can cause a lot of illness. So you don't want that coming down on you. Also, the people who have lived near these mining areas are probably not the wealthiest people in our country, and some of them have been forced to go there whether they like it or not. So you want to protect them. And it seems that the dust exceedances now are minuscule. In fact, they're so negligible, you don't even need to record them. So they've done a good job in restoring this. It does cost a lot of money, but they feel that that has to be done as part of their mission in clearing up these dumps, making profit from them, but also putting some of the profits back to restore the environment.
And what makes the company's business model so successful?
It's a business model that people, even in America, like. They're listed in Johannesburg and New York, and you'll find some very advanced investors who know how to work this share, because there's no other share in the world, I don't think, that jumps so fast when the gold price goes up. Now, we saw last year how its market capitalization just rocketed, from about 170 million rand to 3.5 billion, in a matter of months, because the gold price turned. We had that Nene Gate that was also giving us a weak currency, and all of a sudden there was a rocketing. We used to call this the Roodepoort rocket, because the R in the DRD is Roodepoort. And a lot of people from investors of old used to refer to it as the Rudaport rocket because it responds so fast to a gold price lift. And that is why some of the shareholders hold this share, they hold this stock. Also against the background, that gold is a bad news product, and there's a lot of bad news in the world at the moment. And although you haven't seen much response by the gold price, there is a contention that not only bad news but also a lack of physical gold could send this gold price higher, and then you will see the shareholders really benefit very fast from what was known as the Rudaport rocket.
And the company has increased its reserve by 66.6%. Where does it intend to start up operations next?
You can see right close to the M2 southwest of Johannesburg, and they're going to be able to get their costs down, because on those older dumps their costs were about twice what they're going to be on these newer dumps. They're going to get this material, put it into pipelines, and the slurry goes through eventually to the plant at Ergo in Brakpan. So there's a network of pipelines. The logistics is carefully worked out. But in this case now, with these new sites, the one off the M2 southwest of Johannesburg, and they're working on 2 others as well, will mean a big drop in cost. So that again is, the shareholders are sensitive to that, because if they can keep their costs down, still make profit, even low gold prices, can you imagine what's going to happen to that share if the gold price lifts? Because they're now dragging down their costs by going into these new areas, taking the hard yards in the last 6 months, spending the 26 million, but now getting a reserve like 66% higher. That means that we're going to see these dumps disappear from the horizon. They're really cleaning up in a bigger way than they've ever done. They're looking for, I think, 11 million ounces of reserve eventually. Or anyway, it's a big reserve that they're looking for. And that will mean quite a long period of throughput through their existing plant, where they're also upping the technologies, and they're making sure that they line these pipes, because it's important to transport this old mine dump material in the most efficient way. They line the pipes in such a way that it reduces the drag on electricity to pump that through. So in all respects, they're trying to cut their costs now, just marking time so that they can cope with any situation with the gold price. But if it does rise, there are big benefits.
And how are the communities that surround these dumps benefiting from DRDGold's operations?
Well, particularly from the people who live in the urban areas, dust is really reduced. But they also want to do their share of uplifting communities. Not only do they try and upskill their own workers in a big way, because there's a lot of material to be moved, and it's being done with a sort of a knowledge economy background. So the skills of the workers is being uplifted. But they've also got a scheme that they're hoping to build entrepreneurs through the growing of vegetables. They encourage people and show people how to grow vegetables in very small spaces, like garage door size, and how to yield the best to feed your family. So they've been doing this amongst near mine communities in the Brakpan area and where they operate. They try and help families around there to grow their own vegetables. And they initially thought that the target would be 250 families. They've already been approached by 600 families. This is really going brilliantly, and it's also setting off entrepreneurs. There's one woman who's growing vegetables for her family, but she also supplies the nearby clinic and others, so she's turned it into a business. And that's just one example. There are many examples now of people who've turned this into a business. They do it as a full-time, not only to feed their families, but also to get cash flow going and revenue streams going into their homes, from their homes, with the help of this mine, just showing them how to do it.
Thanks, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Tracy.
A good positive story.
Thank you.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the South African mining industry.